The war in Ukraine rages on. We are in Bakhmut. A convoy of vehicles is approaching K2 battalion positions. On this day, March 10, 2025, a three-vehicle Russian convoy breaks off from the main force, attempting to penetrate Ukrainian defensive lines. Ukrainian reconnaissance drones are patrolling the area. They spot the movement and relay intelligence to artillery units. Within moments, barrage fire is unleashed. The first few artillery strikes fail to halt the convoy. The vehicles push forward, but soon, precision fire begins landing directly on target. Eventually, the convoy is forced to stop. A large number of Russian soldiers evacuate the vehicles, scattering toward the nearby forest. This is the moment when vampire drones can be deployed. Due to the high concentration of enemy troops, cluster munitions are also launched. Cluster bombs are designed to release multiple smaller explosives over a wide area, maximizing damage against infantry spread across open terrain. The surviving soldiers, disoriented by the explosions, lose close contact with one another and scatter deeper into the forest. Now, they are isolated, vulnerable, and easy to track. The Russian attacks are not coming from just one direction. In the same sector, another assault is underway from attack direction number 2. To counter this offensive, Ukrainian forces have devised a strategic plan. Stop the convoy, with a primary focus on halting armored personnel carriers to prevent an organized infantry advance. Force the enemy into chaos, breaking their formation and leaving them scattered and disoriented. Eliminate the fragmented groups one by one, ensuring no chance for reorganization. Use Night Doctor drones to hunt down any remaining enemy soldiers after nightfall. To execute this strategy, drone operators and artillery units are working at full capacity. A single mistake could allow Russian forces to breach Ukrainian defenses, threatening the entire front line. The plan appears to be working. Russian troops are now isolated, scattered in different directions with no coordinated movement. Now, it is only a matter of elimination. A Russian soldier makes a split-second decision to move and suddenly leaps to his feet. As he starts running, he spots a Ukrainian reconnaissance drone hovering nearby. Panicking, he raises his weapon and fires, but his shots miss. The drone remains intact, tracking his every step. Determined to escape, he sprints forward. Along the way, he encounters obstacles, each one trying to slow him down. Yet, he pushes through, refusing to stop. Finally, he reaches the outskirts of Ukrainian defensive positions. For a brief moment, it seems like he has made it. But there's one thing he didn't account for: the Ukrainian infantry waiting on the other side. Before he can react, a burst of gunfire rings out. The soldier collapses, neutralized before he can pose a threat. March 11th, 2025. The previous day's battle may be over, but some Russian soldiers who survived the clashes are now dangerously close to Ukrainian positions. If they are not eliminated quickly, they could pose a serious threat to the defensive lines. The first objective is to force them out of their hiding spots among the ruins. Under the coordination of reconnaissance drones, kamikaze drone strikes are launched, gradually pushing them out. The tactic begins to take effect. In another part of the battlefield, A group of Russian soldiers is detected sheltering inside a collapsed structure. A direct drone strike hits the entrance, causing it to cave in. Moments later, 4 Russian soldiers manage to escape from the wreckage. Moving cautiously, they attempt to flee the area. One of them, displaying remarkable awareness, manages to shoot down an incoming Ukrainian kamikaze drone. The drone crashes to the ground, detonating in a loud explosion. They have survived this attack, but only for now. A second drone is sent in to finish the job. Once again, the same soldier takes aim and successfully brings it down. Their training is evident. These are not ordinary conscripts, but highly skilled fighters. The Russian soldier who previously shot down the drones begins moving between the ruined buildings, trying to escape the area unnoticed. At the same time, a Ukrainian drone strike targets a group of enemy soldiers on the opposite road. Eight soldiers manage to survive the blast and sprint toward the nearby forest, hoping to find cover. Meanwhile, the soldier who downed the drones remains hidden among the wreckage, still trapped in the danger zone. As the battle unfolds, Ukrainian artillery shifts its fire toward the larger group escaping into the forest, while drone operators focus their strikes on the lone Russian survivor still hiding in the ruins. That evening, as darkness sets in, Ukrainian drone operators begin hunting down the surviving Russian soldiers from the previous attack, along with smaller scattered groups attempting to regroup. Enemy troops, exhausted and disoriented, move cautiously near the edge of the forest, hoping to evade detection. However, their movements have already been tracked. To ensure there are no escapees, Ukrainian forces execute a well-coordinated strike. 3 simultaneous drone attacks are launched from different directions, creating a deadly pincer effect. The Russian soldiers, now surrounded, have no clear path to safety. At the same time, armored vehicles stationed in the area are also targeted. FPV kamikaze drones lock onto their positions, dealing devastating blows to enemy transport and heavy equipment. Now, we turn back to the Donbas region. We will show and analyze the events that took place between March 7th and March 14th, 2025. During these 7 days, Magyar Birds units conducted operations that resulted in the destruction of 1,093 Russian targets in Donbas. On average, one enemy target was eliminated every 9 minutes. Every 34 minutes, a Russian soldier was killed. Now, let's take a look at the key events that unfolded during this period. Now, we turn back to the Donbas region. We will show and analyze the events that took place between March 7th and March 14th, 2025. During these 7 days, Magyar Birds units conducted operations that resulted in the destruction of 1,093 Russian targets in Donbas. On average, one enemy target was eliminated every 9 minutes. Every 34 minutes, a Russian soldier was killed. Now, let's take a look at the key events that unfolded during this period. If these vehicles are not destroyed before they leave their staging areas, only one option remains: dealing with them on the battlefield. Sometimes kamikaze drones are used. Other times, bomber drones or airdropped mines during the night do the job. When these methods prove insufficient, artillery units step in. Coordinated strikes ensure that no enemy vehicle remains operational for long. Sometimes, more creative methods are required. One example is thermite drones, a particularly destructive tool used to disable enemy vehicles beyond repair. Unlike traditional explosives, thermite burns at extremely high temperatures, melting through metal and destroying critical components of tanks, armored personnel carriers, and artillery pieces. Even if the vehicle isn't immediately destroyed, it becomes unusable, forcing the enemy to abandon it. Regardless of the method used, the goal remains the same: to halt enemy advances before they can approach Ukrainian defensive lines, because every missed opportunity to neutralize a target allows the enemy to maintain momentum in Donbass. Now another critical objective comes into focus: cutting off enemy supply lines by eliminating their ammunition transport vehicles. This is the equivalent of striking directly at the enemy's throat, disrupting their ability to sustain combat operations. This week alone, a total of 285 enemy vehicles, whether mobile, stationary, or hidden, were destroyed. This accounts for 26% of all targets eliminated. To put it into perspective, if all these vehicles were lined up together, they would be large enough to fill an entire supermarket parking lot. March 9th, 2025. The enemy is attempting to establish a large-scale ground presence in Donbass, deploying their infantry en masse onto the battlefield. With supply routes disrupted and armored support crippled, one key objective remains: eliminating enemy infantry. Unlike vehicles, enemy troops do not follow a predictable pattern. Some advance in small squads, while others attack in larger formations. This makes wiping them out a complex and demanding task. However, a variety of tactical approaches ensure success. FPV kamikaze drones, precision artillery strikes, airdropped mines, and night operations all contribute to the relentless attrition of enemy forces. No matter how they advance, one by one or in groups, there is only one outcome: they will not hold their ground. Eliminating enemy infantry is not just about targeting those advancing in open fields or riding in vehicles. A major factor enabling Russian foot soldiers to progress is their ability to take cover in abandoned buildings, using them as temporary strongholds to move undetected and establish defensive positions. To prevent this, Ukrainian intelligence and drone operators must conduct extensive mapping operations. By precisely identifying enemy-occupied structures, these shelters are systematically destroyed, leaving Russian forces exposed and vulnerable. As you see on screen, buildings used for cover are reduced to rubble. Additionally, the enemy's communication lines, critical for coordinating their movements, are also targeted and severed. Without shelter and reliable communication, their ability to sustain an effective advance collapses entirely. March 11th, 2025, midnight. The battlefield was highly active throughout the day, with intense clashes dominating the front lines. However, not every enemy soldier or supply convoy was eliminated in the chaos. Some managed to slip through, taking cover in the terrain or relocating under the cover of retreat. Now, as darkness falls, these remaining threats become easier to detect. Thermal imaging and reconnaissance drones pick up movements that were previously concealed by the intensity of daytime combat. There is no need for rushed decisions or large-scale bombardments. With patience and precision, Ukrainian drone operators silently begin their work, eliminating every last target that evaded destruction during the day. March 13, 2025. As the battle nears its final stages, Russian vehicle reinforcements have become more frequent. Both armored and unarmored military transports are arriving in large numbers, putting immense pressure on Ukrainian defenses. To counter this growing challenge, Ukrainian forces have intensified their nighttime reconnaissance efforts. The objective? Identifying and eliminating Russian fuel supply depots before they can sustain frontline operations. These fuel reserves are not always in plain sight. Some are stored in open areas, others hidden in small transport vehicles, and sometimes even concealed within buildings. Once detected, these refueling hubs are systematically destroyed, one by one. By crippling Russian supply lines, Ukrainian forces create a significant barrier against the relentless influx of enemy vehicles, weakening their ability to sustain the offensive. March 14, 2025. So far, we have covered the ground operations in detail. But what about the battles taking place in the sky? Drone warfare isn't exclusive to Ukrainian forces. The Russian military also has a formidable drone fleet. And just as the hunt continues on the ground, it also rages in the air. Aerial combat tactics are highly dependent on the type and structure of the enemy drone. The goal? To force enemy UAVs into a crash landing by striking their wings or other critical components at the right angle. However, not every drone is suited for this kind of engagement. FPV drones designed for ground attacks often lack the altitude, speed, and maneuverability needed for aerial combat. To counter this, technical upgrades are made to existing drones, and specialized models are deployed, each tailored for air-to-air engagements. As the skies over Donbass become an increasingly contested battleground, Ukraine's drone operators continue to adapt, ensuring that superiority is maintained not only on the ground but in the air as well. That's all for today. Stay tuned for more updates.